Hi, my name is Jack.
I'm 19 years old, and I want to tell you a bit about my dad, Nick. Throughout my childhood, my dad was like any other great fatherly figure. He would always play with me and my siblings on days out, pick us up to make sure we were okay when we would fall and hurt ourselves,
And sit with us through the mountains of math homework we would bring home as kids.
This is the dad that we all know and love and enjoy being around.
Unfortunately though, through no fault of his own,
This isn't always the person dad can be. The difference between my dad and others is that my dad was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 8 years old. Bipolar disorder, formerly known as manic depression, is a mental health disorder that can cause abrupt changes in mood.
bipolar can be dated all the way back to 1st century Greece, where they created the terms we know today as mania and depression.
One moment, someone with bipolar disorder could be suffering from a depression where they feel unmotivated to move or get out of bed. And then the next, they feel unstoppable and on top of the world, like even death wouldn't be able to stop them. Bipolar is very different for everyone. There are 3 different types of bipolar, all with similar characteristics, but also very different at the same time. My dad was diagnosed as bipolar type 1 when I was a child, and I wanted to use this opportunity of creating a documentary for my final piece to tell our story, and to show how our experiences shaped us into the people we are today. This is the story of how his bipolar has affected me, our relationship, and those around him too. Welcome to My Bipolar Dad and Me.
I first met Nick in 1997. He was doing a year course in university over in New York, and we went to the same university, and we met in a bar, and I thought he was brilliant. He was fun, he was outgoing, he was entertaining, he had lots of friends, he got along well with my friends, and we fell in love really quickly.
The first time we met Nick was at a family gathering, Passover Seder. I was surprised he had known Deborah just a few weeks, and that he would want to come to a family gathering that would, I had imagined, something he hadn't been involved in before. And he was extremely friendly and intelligent, and was accepted, I think, by everyone at the table.
Nick was wonderful for the first few years. We fell in love and we had a long distance relationship. We flew back and forth, saved up our money, didn't talk very much on the phone so we could see each other more often. My family loved him and I was very welcomed into his family, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to build a life together, and I was just really in love with him.
As I can remember, the first year or so, your mom would tell us things, but they were things that were normal to a new relationship, a new marriage. People learning to grow together and to deal with each other, 2 different personalities, and making it work. I didn't find it anything outside the norm.
I first noticed signs of mania during the time when we were moving back to London from New York. He was so fixated on moving back to London, and that would be the only thing that would make him happy. His behavior became a bit erratic. At the time, I didn't know that that's what it was, and I just felt like I needed to support my husband of only 2 years and do what he needed to do to make him happy. He became very erratic at work at that time and very erratic in his relationships, but I didn't know what it was during that time, and I just thought he was homesick and needed to be back with his family, and so I wanted to support him through that.
My relationship with your father has been a total roller coaster. I mean, peaks and valleys extreme, from wonderful friendship to love and endearing, to trying to deal with him when he was in the throes of the bipolar and understanding that the man was sick, but still trying to be helpful, and difficult to realize that the only one that could help your father was your father himself, that he had to make the decision.
I fell in love with this carefree, lovely man who was kind and generous and honest to a fault. and I still see this person in him. But having to deal with the other side of his personality when he's going through a manic episode, and the hypomania where the mania lasts for a long time, and being the focus of his abuse and the mania fake, and it's not the man I fell in love with, and it's not the man he is. And I don't blame him in any way for what's happened. Our relationship fell apart. He can't live in our home anymore. I still wish the best for him. I wish him happiness. I love him. I'll always love him. But I miss the trust that we had with each other, and I feel like I can't ever have that back. I think bipolar's affected a lot of Dad's relationships in his life. Dad becomes a bit obsessed about things and can hold on to a grudge and can lash out at people. And while people who love him try to forgive and forget, it causes a scar on people, and they carry that around with them. And it does affect his relationships with other people. I know it's affected his relationship with my family and his extended family as well. So, yes.
Three, two, one, action. Hi Dad.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm well. I'm feeling good.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Nick MacArthur. I'm 56 years old. I have lived in London all my life, and I am father to 4 children. I've worked as a primary school teacher for about 17 years, and I was diagnosed bipolar in 2010, so about 11 years ago now.
How would you describe the feeling of mania?
With a mixture of thoughts, really. A sense of elation, a sense of rather humorous things happening. When it first happens, particularly, most people don't really have very much idea what on earth is going on. And I would have included myself in that as well. You are very confused by what's going on. It's not something that you expect.
So, do you think you were born with bipolar, or were there certain events within your life that could trigger it?
I think that the experiences of my brothers and sisters dying when they were young and not being encouraged to talk about it for a long time caused there to be issues for me when I became tired and overwhelmed.
Do you feel as though bipolar has affected any of your relationships with those around you?
Oh, absolutely. With everybody. There's not one sphere of my life that hasn't been impacted by it. I know that people around me have responded in out of worry and concern.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that worry and concern can feel overwhelming, but the positive outcome I think that I have to take from it is that at least I keep an open mind and I try to keep learning even or despite bipolar.
Are you in complete control when manic?
No.
No.
No. I would say that the mania is very powerful.
Yeah.
And I am more able to avoid the worst excesses of mania now, but I couldn't control the mania on the first 4 or 5 occasions I experienced it. It was very powerful.
Last question. If you were able to give yourself back in 2010 a piece of advice after the first manic episode, what would it be?
Well, that's a good question.
If you've got something that confuses you, talk to somebody who in a therapeutic role, somebody who can hear what you have to say and offer you their experience, given one that they've trained how to convey challenging information to people, and two, they're older and know more about the world, and there's no harm in asking an adult to offer you some support in an area where you are vulnerable, because we all have vulnerabilities, you know, and I think to be able to recognise those is actually a real strength, and then to talk about it. Once you've talked about the whatever it might be that's causing you difficulties, whether it be some form of sexual identity or gender identity or some form of childhood trauma that you're coming to terms with as an adult, I think there's lots of scope for people to heal and really feel that they've grown as a consequence of talking to somebody who can help.
Today is the 18th of May 2021. After spending the last 3 months on this documentary, I have to say this project has been one of the toughest yet most inspirational journeys I've ever been on, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Creating a piece that is so personal to me has really forced me to explore every inch of myself, my childhood, and my relationship with my father. While filming, I have learnt that I have a very different relationship to my dad compared to those around me, and this has given me a clarity in which I feel I was missing before. This has been one of the wildest roller coasters I've ever been on, as the extreme ups and downs have really shook me at times, to the point where I wanted to stop and just film a music video instead. But now I've reached the end, I'm glad that I decided to see the project through, as I feel as though the process has really matured me and opened my eyes to new perspectives. If I had the chance to tell my younger self a piece of advice when it comes to dealing with my dad, it would be just keep quiet and listen when he goes on his lectures, as saying anything would just start a new one. And also realise it's not his fault, and it's not yours either. I want to thank you all for your time and for watching my documentary, and I hope you enjoyed.